Hey Tech students, I am showing a solution for the random number list program. It is a good example of what you may find on the midterm, and so I wanted to share that solution with everyone. Basically, the program asks the user how many integers they would like the computer to pick and put into a list. And then the computer will pick those numbers, put them in a list, and then do some operations as far as minimum, maximum, total, as well as showing 3 different ways of printing out of a list. So anytime you're dealing with random selection, you need this statement at the top. And I'm showing one run down here. Basically, if I run this program again, I'll have a different list of numbers. So run it again. This time I say I want, let's say, 6 numbers. Pick 6, and then of course I get a completely different set every time I run it. That's the random feature of this. So basically, looking at main, the inputs is going to ask the user how many numbers do you want in the list, and it's going to produce that list, and that's the only thing you really need to return from inputs, because once you have the list of numbers, you can do everything else in processing that you need to. Then in processing, you can return total, minimum, and maximum, and then you end up with 4 things that you have to put in for outputs. And if you notice, I try to be really careful to go in order. If I do numList first and then total, min, and max, I try to stick exactly with that order every time I write those variables. Looking into inputs, here's how it actually works. We ask the user how many numbers they want in the list. You have to have a variable locally to hold that answer. So picks would be get pause int result there, just to say how many numbers will be in the list. Then the number list starts out blank, and then for index, in range, picks, because that's however many numbers they say. Then here we have another local variable, num picked, and we don't need to return either of those outside of the function. But for every single random selection, it's saved for the moment, and then it's put into the list here. At that point, the loop runs again, and a new number is picked, but that number now is being added to the list with this line. So the list is building up every time the loop runs. Once it picks the full set, then the number list can be sorted in order. That could have been done in processing as well, but all you need to return is the number list. Once you have a list of numbers, if you take that into processing, very easy to do total equals sum num list, min num equals min num list. These are built-in functions. And try to use a slightly different name for your variables so there's no confusion between the built-in function name and your variable name. These 3 we're returning because we'll need them in the print statements. So down here in outputs, I think some people thought it was a little bit harder than the rest. First we have, here's your list of, and here we say len num list. That tells us how many numbers are in the list. This is just a raw print here. Now, this was from slide 13 in the PowerPoint, the lesson PowerPoint. It showed you the raw print, and then it also showed you the shortcut method. The only thing that's different between the PowerPoint and these lines is the list name was guess in the PowerPoint, whereas now in this program the list name is NumList. This one is from slide 14, and it is a little bit more of an adaptation. When we use this for loop with if-else inside, the if is to handle all of the numbers in the list except the last one. So when we say if index is less than len number list minus 1, that means that we're dealing with those numbers prior to the last one. As soon as we get to the last one, this would be false. And so then that last one would be handled down here in the else portion. So for all of the numbers in the list up to the last one, it's basically NumList index, so it's just pulling out the number, space, plus sign, space. And then we have this in here because if you don't have this, every print statement has a default new line at the end of it. And if you don't want it to go to the next line and print the list vertically, you need this so that that new line, this will override the default new line that's at the end of every print statement. And so that'll keep going for all the numbers up to the last one. It'll just be printing the number, space, plus sign, space. The number, space, plus sign, space, and so on until it gets to the last one. And that last one is very similar. It's the number again, but this is space, equal sign, space, and then that total is fed in there. And that's how you get this look. So once again, if I didn't have end equals blank here, these numbers would be printing up and down. Okay, that's one important thing to remember. And then here's what's printing out of the else statement is from this 9, space, equal sign, space, and then the totals feeding in there. Finally, this is a familiar type of print statement where the min num and the max num is being fed into the string. So, and of course, names called at the bottom. I hope it helps to look over this code with comments. And then, if you have questions, get in touch with, like if there's lines in here you don't understand, by all means get in touch and we will try to clarify why certain things are the way they are. Thanks, bye.